Okay, here's the latest challenge on this 5-story multi-generational passive ICF house that I've been DIY building, and I'm currently underneath the garage. So this is a 16-foot tall, I don't know if you can see it, but this OSB is 16 feet above the floor down there. I'm currently on some scaffolding because the challenge that I am trying to figure out is how do I get my I-joists, which held up my build deck blocks. So the garage, I don't know if I had another one still left over, then you'd be able to actually see, but just picture another one on the other side, and it ends up creating a concrete beam once you get done pouring it. Now granted, there's also a lot of rebar in here, or I should say up above here. And what I wanted to do though is I wanted to be able to have a flat surface that I could put all of my build deck on. My I-joists, which actually held everything up when I poured the wet concrete, and you can go back and watch those videos. I actually did these guys 12 inches on center, and they are spanning, what was the span? It is about 20 feet, so they're spanning 20 feet. I did have a couple of stem walls down below, just also helping to decrease the total span. As it turns out though, they really weren't needed, but I'd rather do belt and suspenders, so I had 2 of them. So it was only spanning like, 10 feet at a time. No, not even 10 feet, like 7 feet is what the span was. And it worked, held up all the concrete above until it could set up. But now I've got all of my OSB that I need to get down. I need to get down all of my I-joists because I'll be using them in other parts of the house. So the question is, because I did not screw the OSB, I did not screw it down onto the I-joist, how do I get my I-joist out and how do I get my OSB out? So my dad and I were brainstorming how to pull off this little minor miracle. And I should also point out too, these were not being held up just by those 2x4s that you see over there. I also had 2x4s going down the entire length of the wall, so it was transferring the weight of the I-joists down the wall onto the concrete footers that are all the way down there. And then, like I said, I also had 2 bearing walls here in the middle that the weight was transferring it to. But the reason why I know that they really weren't transferring the weight to the 2 bearing walls is because when I took out the bearing walls, the 2x4s were actually loose. So there wasn't any pressure that was being put down. With that said, I would still 100% recommend, if you do this, still put in bearing walls. So I've got these that I need to take out, but they are holding up this OSB. So the question is, how do I take these out without the 5 pieces of OSB just collapsing once we take out the last one? First, let's talk about the challenge of how to get the I-joist out. So what I ended up doing was I ended up just grabbing the skill saw and cutting out a piece of 2x4, and then we're able to move the I-joist over. And then my dad is on one end, he grabbed a hold of it, and then I was on the other end, and as he lowered it, then I was able to just pull my end out away from the 2x4, and then we were able to lower them down. So still the question is, what do you do about the OSB that's sitting up there? I mean, these are 4x8 sheets of OSB, and that would be awful to take out the last I-joist and all of those just come collapsing down onto us. So what we decided to do is, this right here is one piece and it's going in that direction. This piece is an 8-foot piece and it is going in the other direction to the wall. And so first we took out however many this was, like 5 or 6 I-joists, took those out. And then over here, now I'm going to be moving the scaffolding. We'll put it underneath of those, And as you can see right here, you can see that it's starting to, see how I'm able to pull that down. And so what the plan is, once we get all the scaffolding right here, move all the scaffolding over, then we'll start taking out each eye joist. And then these 5 pieces of OSB should also start sagging. Once they sag far enough, then the hope, let's see if it works, I'll make another video if it does. The hope is that it'll sag far enough that we're then able to stand on the scaffolding, pull the OSB, because it'll be sagged probably to about right here, pull it out, and because we've already removed all of these eye joists, then we should be able to clear these ones right here. Actually, we'll be able to easily clear that as we take these out. So anyways, that was the challenge. This is the solution that we came up with on how do we remove everything. And then what is going to be left, we'll actually see the bottom of the build book. No, build deck is what it's called. So we'll be able to just have a white top, and it'll be 16 foot tall. So what are we gonna do in this room? Well, on this side, we'll have the rock climbing wall. If I stand in that corner, then I'm actually able to shoot 3-point baskets all the way to the other corner. And then on this wall, we'll have a nice big movie room. It's 20 feet by 24 feet and then 16 feet tall. So we'll be able to have a little small pickleball court in here, volleyball. Kids will just be able to play. So it cost about an extra $10,000 for all the materials and everything, all the concrete, the extra 2 walls, because normally when you're doing a garage, normally you do have to put in this wall and that wall, and then all of this area would have just been filled with dirt. And I knew that even though I don't necessarily have the extra 10,000, I knew I'd kick myself 10 years from now if every time that we drove into the garage, if I knew, hey, you could have had a really cool room underneath there. So we did have to pay for this wall and that wall over there. But by doing so, we ended up with this really cool room. So anyways, be sure to like and subscribe so you can see if it really does work as far as being able to pull out these 5 sheets of plywood once we get a few more of the eye joists out, if it sags far enough that we're able to just grab and pull. So like I said, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.